Well, I always do things where I tell her to
Right, there you go.
Right.
Which is which? Where's the other one? That's mine. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janine Pirro, and I am here to announce the arrest and federal charges against 14 defendants for the brazen sale of cocaine within 1,000 feet of an elementary school. We now today have a 21-count indictment charging 14 defendants with conspiracy and intent to distribute crack cocaine and cocaine within 1,000 feet of a protected location. The distribution involves 2.4 kilos of crack, 1 kilo of cocaine powder, as well as cocaine base, and during the course of the operation, the sale of fentanyl as well as marijuana. Now, let me be clear. This is not some victimless crime in a dark back alley. This is poison that is being peddled during the day within feet of a schoolyard where our children learn, play, and grow. Selling cocaine near our kids isn't just illegal. It is an attack on the most vulnerable in our society. It endangers the children, it destroys families, and it fuels the violence and the chaos in the district that we have suffered for far too long. These defendants chose to set up shop in Washington Heights, a home to more than 10 schools and even more child care locations meant for education and safety. They set up a marketplace for deadly drugs. Cocaine doesn't discriminate. It ruins lives. It overdoses kids who accidentally come into contact with it. And before you, right now at this table, is the firepower that accompanies the selling of these drugs. 19 weapons during the course of the conspiracy and 9 weapons that were seized today. And also, we have, in addition to the 14 defendants, there are now 20 defendants who have been arrested and are in custody. Now, the area where this conspiracy occurred is in Washington Heights, Highlands, as I said, and it operated around 4th Street Southeast and Chesapeake Street Southeast, right around the corner from Hendley Elementary School, which is a school that services pre-K to 6th graders. And the sale of this powdered cocaine on DC streets has caused violence between the local street crews and, of course, the horrible addiction. In this case, these 14 defendants routinely sold crack cocaine in the presence of school-age children, in the presence of their mothers, in the presence of their babysitters and their parents, who were helpless to do anything about it. This criminal behavior exposed children to illegal activity in broad daylight and normalized dangerous conduct. And the abuse, as you know, has been, crack cocaine has been an epidemic in this district for far too long. And it has historically fueled more crime than any other drug in the city. Now, credit where credit is due. The Metropolitan Police Department started this investigation in December of 2024. They did it, and Chief Carroll will talk about this in a minute, as part of their crime analysis and crime reduction effort that they engage in every year to assess where the crime is occurring and where they can be most effective. And this case is part of the Homeland Security Task Force, the initiative that was established by President Trump that brings the whole of government in a partnership along with MPD, the FBI, the DEA, as well as the United States Attorney's Office that was involved in this right from the beginning in December of 24. Now, throughout this investigation, there have been multiple search warrants that have been executed that led to the arrest of individuals that are not part of today's conspiracy, but they have been kind of picked off one at a time and pulled away from the conspiracy. So it's more than the 20. It involves many others who have been already prosecuted. Now, in terms of this operation, I'd like to thank law enforcement behind me. More than 500 officers were involved in the execution of over 30 search warrants, as well as the arrest of every one of the individuals in the indictment. And those 500 law enforcement officers continue in the execution of those warrants as we speak. Of the 14 defendants, 9 are from D.C., 5 are from Maryland. They range in age from 21 to 43. Of note, and I find this kind of fascinating, 4 of these defendants are already under supervision by the courts, which clearly didn't prevent them from getting involved in a years-long conspiracy. In terms of time, 5 of these defendants face a mandatory minimum of 10 years. And several of them face a mandatory minimum of 5 years. Several of them face life in prison. Now, to every parent, teacher, and resident, as the United States Attorney, I want you to know that we have your back. This prosecution is part of an unrelenting crackdown on drug traffickers who treat our streets like their personal profit centers. We will continue to work shoulder to shoulder with the MPD, with the FBI, with the DEA, with our Homeland Security Task Force teams, and every partner who refuses to accept this as normal behavior, where our kids are not safe, literally not safe, walking to school. And let me be clear, I will seek the maximum punishments available, as well as enhanced sentencing that is available for sales in proximity to these schools. If you sell drugs near our children in the District of Columbia, you will be caught, you will be charged federally, and I promise you will go to prison for a very long time. Now, before I call on the partners, there is one thing that has irked me, and I would like you to bear with me for 1 second. In this poster over there, and this poster over here, we have the sale of drugs in broad daylight in Washington Highlands. Right here, we have circled the actual sale of cocaine. That sale is being made to this woman with the gray hair. We've got this dead to right. Within a few feet is a 5-year-old child. This woman, after she buys the cocaine, takes this child by the hand and walks away. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's a crime. It's one thing to have a prosecution of dirtbags who are selling drugs in the area of schools 1,000 feet from a damn elementary school. It's a whole other level of crime, as far as I'm concerned, for this woman to bring a child to a cocaine sale and then walk along with the child while she's got the drugs on her. DC does not have an endangering the welfare of a child a crime, which I am going to ask the DC Council to enact. It's what you need. And over here, This is a regular occurrence. These little children with backpacks, every one of those dirtbags selling drugs. It's time that we took this seriously, and we are. And thank you to the men behind me and all the men and women in law enforcement who made this a priority. We took it as long and as far as we could to make sure that, as the president said, we're going to make DC safe and beautiful. All right, now I want to call on the head of the FBI, Darren Cox. Who you want to call first? All right, we're going to call on MPD first because they started this. How's that?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Judge Pirro. I'm Jeff Carroll. I'm the interim chief of police for the Metropolitan Police Department. Since late 2024, the Metropolitan Police Department's Violent Crime Suppression Division has been investigating a series of violent offenses and narcotic trafficking centered in and around the 4200 block of 4th Street, as indicated on the maps over here. This is the Washington Highlands neighborhood. This community has been plagued by crime for far too long. It includes an area with a persistent drug activity. We've collected significant evidence that indicates that the suspects announced in today's indictment were responsible for these crimes. The long-standing partnership between MPD, the FBI, and the DEA is a critical tool that allows us to address deeply entrenched crime and violence in communities across the District of Columbia. This 2-year investigation culminated today with a federal indictment of 14 individuals for conspiracy to distribute illicit narcotics, as well as distribution of controlled substances within 1,000 feet of protected location and related weapons offenses, as the judge noted. As part of this ongoing investigation, and prior to today's apprehensions, investigators have already recovered more than 2.4 kilos of crack cocaine, 1 kilo of cocaine hydrochloride, 29 grams of fentanyl, 12 pounds of marijuana, and 19 firearms. This case is another example of the Metropolitan Police Department's commitment to identify, investigate, and hold accountable those who prey upon our community. We want to extend our sincere gratitude to the FBI Washington Field Office, to the DEA Washington Field Office, and the United States Attorney's Office of the District of Columbia for their outstanding collaboration in this case. We also want to thank the Montgomery County, Maryland Police Department, the Fairfax County Police Department, and the United States Marshal Service for their exceptional contributions in the investigation as well. And now I'll turn it over to the DEA Special Agent in Charge, Chris Gomez, for comments.
Thank you, Chief. It's a privilege to stand up here. And, you know, just as I might say, because I'm Chris Gomez, Goumenis, I'm the Special Agent in Charge for the Washington Division. I do cover 3 states, but as the residents of DC, y'all should be proud to have these leaders standing up here. It's no greater. If it's the chief, it's Adek Cox or Judge Pirro. We got some of the finest law enforcement leaders here in the District of Columbia. But it's a privilege for DEA to be here today and to stand with our federal partners, with the FBI, the United States Attorney's Office, of course, Chief Carroll with the Metropolitan Police Department. I would personally like to thank Judge Pirro and extend my gratitude to her and her team, as well as to President Trump for fostering an environment of unprecedented collaboration over the last year and a half. This takedown is a direct result of partnerships born out of 2 executive orders, the DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force, as well as the Homeland Security Task Force. Today's arrests are a huge win for law enforcement across the district. Our communities are a lot safer due to it. The people that we arrested today across the FBI, DEA, Metro, and everybody else that was out there, they have access to illicit drugs. They have access to firearms. They're violent criminals, and most of them have recidivated in the communities. Our efforts have undeniably saved countless lives. Together with our partners, the amount of fentanyl, and again, the chief preluded to what was seized in the past, but what was also seized today, is about 6,200 deadly dosage units of fentanyl taken off the street. That's the saving. Due to the work by Judge Pirro and her team, by Chief Carroll and his team, Adek Cox and his team, and of course my own agents, we've saved over 6,000 lives during the course of this investigation. That's 6,000 lives, not only in Southern Maryland, but in the district. Again, I just want to remind everybody, 2 milligrams of fentanyl is a deadly dosage. This is a stark reminder of the ongoing threat our community faces and the critical importance of our collected efforts to combat it. These criminals do not care about the safety. As the judge pointed out, these criminals do not care about the safety of our kids. But I can tell you, everybody standing up here, we do. We care. To the citizens of DC and Maryland, our children are safer because of this investigation. Under the leadership of the president, as well as Administrator Terry Cole, the DEA, we have been dedicated to ensuring a safer nation's capital. And I think that's evident. Whenever we are called to serve in any capacity, the DEA will be there. We want to be the best partner that we can. And that is the direct order of our administrator. And that is what I push to my people, be the best partner to not only to the judge and her team, to Ada Cox and his team, Chief Carroll and his team, and any other federal agency that we're working with on the Safe and Beautiful Task Force. I personally, again, I know I keep saying it, but I want to thank the team standing up here, because without them, this wouldn't have happened. I also want to extend my gratitude to the officers in the Metropolitan PD that were involved in this, the FBI agents that spent countless amounts of time out with my own agents on the street and my TFOs. I want to thank the judge and her attorneys, the intel analysts, as well as the marshals that are helping us today and everybody else. Again, without them, we would not have been successful. Together, working together, we will relentlessly pursue and hunt down these dangerous drug traffickers, no matter where they hide. And that's what we're here for. Thank you, Judge, again.
Thank you. Darren Cox.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Darren Cox. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Washington Field Office. This morning, teams from the FBI Washington Field Office, working in partnership with MPD and DEA, executed 19 search warrants and made 20 arrests on a violent street gang that operated here in DC and Prince George's County. There were approximately 500 law enforcement officers that participated in today's operation. This 4th Street crew trafficked guns and narcotics like fentanyl and cocaine. They, along with other neighborhood-based street crews, are the primary drivers of violence in DC. They commit crimes including armed carjackings, shootings, robberies, and even murder. This has been a comprehensive investigation by the FBI Safe Streets Task Force, MPD, and DEA. It is part of a larger effort by the Homeland Security Task Force to target narcotics traffickers and their cartel links that jointly terrorize our community. They terrorize our community by trafficking narcotics and also violence. This investigation also marks the FBI's kickoff of the Summer Heat Initiative to crush violent crime in DC. Citizens may see the FBI out on the streets overtly as part of the DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force. That task force, along with these guys back here and MPD and DEA, they combat violent crime in DC every single day. Today's investigations demonstrates how the FBI and our DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force partners are working behind the scenes on investigations every single day that lead to larger scale takedowns like we had today. We build these cases over time, and we make significant impact by taking the leaderships of these street crews out along with all of their members. We dismantle the entire gang in one foul swoop. In addition to the partners that we have here today, I also want to thank the Fairfax County Police Department, Montgomery County Police Department, and the Prince George's County Police Department, who also assisted with this investigation. And finally, I want to thank the DC U.S. Attorney's Office, led by U.S. Attorney Piero, for their aggressive prosecution and their hard work to hold accountable these violent offenders that are terrorizing our community. The FBI is committed to working with our partners to take violent gang and violent offenders off the street, just like this 4th Street crew. Today's operation is an important step, and we will use every resource that we have to keep the streets of DC safe and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions?
You mentioned wanting to add, I believe you said child endangerment. You know, what have those conversations begun with DC Council? Other related charges you bring up that would be similar to that?
There isn't anything right now that we see that is applicable to this situation, but the DC Council will get a letter from me indicating that there are gaps in the statute. Most states have endangering the welfare of a child. It's more generic. You can't predict that every crime or everything that impacts a child, but certainly this is endangering the welfare of a child.
Let me ask an unrelated question. I know
Why?
with the UFC terror law, I do want to ask the next steps as far as prosecution of that.
Yeah.
I understand they were arrested elsewhere, but
Yeah.
their communications were outside of DC with the attacks.
Yeah. The threat to the UFC situation is being handled by other offices. Venue is literally in other states, and we do not have a piece of that here in DC.
You don't expect that case will end up in your office at all?
I don't think so, not based on what we know so far. Most of the actions are outside of DC. In fact, all of them that we're aware of are outside of the district.
But even though the target was in the district?
Yeah, you've got to have some activity in the district. Yes, sir.
Welcome back.
Bye. Where was I?
Where do the guns come from? As you know, it's very hard to get guns in DC legally. Where did the guns come from? I have another question.
Where the guns come from, Chief?
So these are all illegal firearms. We know that many of the guns that here in the district that come in from other states that have much more relaxed gun firearm laws and come here into the district illegally. So none of these guns were legally registered or legally owned. They were illegal firearms.
And then an off topic. Yesterday, your office.
Why are we off topic? I want to talk about this.
Well,
Call Tim. Somebody else. Anyone else on this? I think you can sense the excitement that we all had in working this case. It was a long case. It was a very intense effort. We tried to take it wherever it led us, and we worked very well together. And we're very proud of the work that we did together as a team. And I couldn't be prouder of the men and the teams behind us, including in my office, VCNT, which is the violent crime and our narcotics trafficking section. All right, thank you.
Question for Chief Carroll. Jeff, as you know, the 4th Street area there has been a very tough and difficult area for as long as I've been reporting in the city. From my gray hair, you can see how on that. What do you say to the residents down there that say perhaps that this is now pushing out this drug conspiracy and you're getting a lot of guys locked up, but eventually they're going to backfill into that? How do you keep this from coming back together and keeping these illegal firearms and drugs from coming into that community?
Yes, so Paul, that's a really good question. So we've done similar operations like this in other communities here in the district. And we know that by making these arrests and taking these people off the street and the firearms and illegal drugs, it definitely has an impact in overall violent crime. That's why we identified this area and we identified these areas to do these long-term investigations. With that being said, the Washington Highlands area, it does have, as you mentioned, a long historical history of violence in there. It's been one of our Operation Thrive or homicide reduction areas for several years. And we have seen the reductions in violent crime there, but again, continue to put resources. So even though this operation has ended, there will still be some leads that will continue to be run down on the patrol side and on our homicide reduction program side of it, keeping resources in that area, as well as other city resources that may be able to help in that community. So we don't have that vacuum or we don't have a displacement of crime to the outer areas there.
And can I ask, you started it in 24. So why does it take so long to get to this point? And was there an uptick in violent crime at that time that forced you to go down in there?
No, so what we do is to identify the areas that where we're actually going to do an operation. Our Violent Crime Suppression Division actually looks at areas across the district where we may be seeing an uptick in crime. So in this case, when we began this investigation, I believe there was like 94 violent crimes, including homicides, robberies, violent felonies that occurred in that area. So we try to look at an area where we thought we'd be able to have a good impact overall, because as you know, these firearms and drugs, they're connected to so many other violent crimes that are out there. So by identifying that area, the means that this operation takes, a lot of times on day-to-day operations, buy, bust, things like that, but these are longer-term investigations. So getting sources in the community, different tactics that we have to use. The goal is not to just get the street-level buyers and sellers, but really the people who are providing And that's where this conspiracy and this information about the indictment comes from. We want to get the higher level people, not just the people that are selling in the hand-to-hand transaction on the street, so we can really get in deep and try to get to the root cause of this.
Yeah, and if I just want to add something to that. You know, there were at least 165 buys during the course of this operation. And as I indicated before, there were several individuals who were picked off and were not part of this. And, you know, I may be a believer, which is why I'm still doing this, but I really believe at some point that the more people you take off the street, the more public it is, then I think we can make a difference. I really do. I think that we've changed the landscape in DC a great deal in the last year, year and a half since the president has been here. And I think we'll continue to do so with the aggressive work that we're doing together. I really do. I am optimistic. And the chief was right. I mean, they're focusing on areas where there is a lot of crime, and they're applying their efforts to those areas. And we do it. We do it not just in terms of prosecution, but in terms of offering services to families, you know, making sure that, you know, that they're policing in that area. I really am more optimistic than most that we can turn things around.
Chief, to that end, when there is an investigation like this surrounding an elementary school and you have a sense of what's going on but can't make the arrest yet, is there any kind of coordination or communication with DCPS about parents or teachers and kind of taking protective measures with the children in and around the school?
Yeah, without getting into too much technical level detail about how we run the operations, as the judge mentioned, there are cases when we do make arrests that are in there. And again, that helps to build back to the larger conspiracy and get information out there. So as we work this, we don't just necessarily stand by and watch things go on and not take action with there. There are cases and opportunities we do. And also that leads to us being able to take that information and build back into the overall conspiracy that's out there.
And also the venue question may answer this, but on Sunday you said there was no credible threat to the UFC event, and the FBI said they were aware of the plot on June 10th. Is it that there was no credible threat in the district at the time, or you were unaware of the plot?
Sure. So when we gave our press conference, that was actually last Wednesday.
I mean, on Fox 5 on Sunday, you said there was no credible threat.
I didn't say that on Fox 5. What I did say is we are working with the FBI and our partners. So on Wednesday, I said there was no credible threats. Obviously, we work with the FBI and all of our partners as information comes into the district. And of course, as FBI got information, they shared that with us, the United States Park Police, the Secret Service. The FBI did have the lead on that. And of course, the evaluations made by them on the information is what we go by.
And how does the revelation of a plot like this affect security measures? We have a ton of events for the remainder of the summer. How does that affect operations on your guys' side of things? And also, I know with the juvenile curfew, I know you guys are able to call curfew sounds. With any extra security, is that going to threaten, stretch resources for that?
I mean, so we're constantly evaluating information that comes in. Things are constantly changing. What we say right now, things can change, new information can come in. So we're always evaluating that. We also look at how we're deploying resources. Do we need to increase resources? Do we need to change the types of covert or overt resources we see? So really it's based on the information we have and the experiences that we have. So we're constantly evaluating that. For us, as we deploy resources, especially on certain events, we do things like go to a full activation, where we have additional resources, longer shifts, and have more resources. Additionally, in many of these events, think about the Salutes America, the UFC fight, the Park Police had to lead in that area, and then brought in a bunch of outside law enforcement and National Guard. So we're working together collectively overall for the plans.
Mr. Can I ask you yet about the domestic shooting yesterday? I've been looking at court records, and the man who's accused of shooting that woman, Melissa Pulliam is her name, yesterday up on Wisconsin Avenue. The man accused of shooting her had been previously arrested 3 different times for assaulting her. And those charges were all dropped, every one of them, by your office. I know it probably
Preceded me.
Preceded you.
It
But
definitely preceded me. I don't even need to know the case. It preceded me. So what is your question?
my question is that this man was, I mean,
He's determined to kill her, and he killed her. Okay. Here's the problem. As crime is going down in DC, the thing that is not being impacted at all by the reduction in crime is domestic violence crime. It is staying completely the same. I believe, and what I'm training my prosecutors to do, is to recognize that there are some men who are so hell-bent on killing a woman that they will do anything to kill her. And that includes threatening her, giving her a date where he's going to kill her, telling her how long she's going to live. If he strangles her but doesn't kill her, there's an 800% chance that the next time he sees her, he's going to strangle her and kill her. So we're also trying to get involved in judicial training so that the judges recognize that detention is appropriate in these cases. We're changing the law. Strangulation just became a felony a couple of years ago, but in terms of detention, it is still not sufficiently listed so that we can detain these defendants automatically. There's a lot yet to do in the district. And unfortunately, you know, domestic violence involves a woman who loves the guy or loved him at some point, and he has convinced her that, you know, he'll never do it again, the old honeymoon period. But
That
we are
raises the
fighting
question
this.
if perhaps these cases were dropped because she didn't want to participate.
Yes, most of the time, yes. I'd say 80 to 90% of the time. She doesn't want to participate, or she will not give us the ability to get the hospital records. Because what I did in New York is I went without her. I don't care. It's the people of the state of New York. It's the United States of America against him for what he did to you. I don't need your permission. However, in some cases, if I don't have the medical records, and I can't get them here, and if I don't have a witness who's willing to testify and I have no corroborating evidence, then I've got nothing. Thanks for asking the
Judge,
question.
you say there's a lot more to do in the district. You're going to have to do it with a new mayor. Democratic Socialist Janice Lewis-George is ahead in the polls right now. What's your relationship like, and how do you anticipate working with her with that lot more to do in the district?
Is that a trick question?
Not at
What
all.
do you think of her?
Well, I haven't met her. I look forward to meeting her. I've had a great relationship with Mayor Bowser. I'm hoping to have a good relationship with the new mayor. And time will tell, but I'm sure you'll be watching. Thank you.